Everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. First off, let me say thank you so much for being here today. It is truly amazing how much, not just interest, but just how much dedication people in the city have towards recycling and real recycling options and know-how in our city. There's a number of people to thank for putting this together, but one I'm just going to start from the beginning with is Z. Shackelford, who is getting this video broadcasted live. So there's people here, and that's really exciting, but there's also people who are watching from home. Hello. Good. So my name's Austin Bonta, mayor of the city of Portage, a.k.a. the guy who first initiated bringing a stop to the curbside program in our city. The reason for that, as we'll get into, had to do with the fact that we could not ensure the contamination level would stay at a rate where things would actually get recycled. It's an age-old battle of convenience versus effectiveness. We're going to go into the history of how we got where we are, how things are going now, potential for the future, and what to do in the meantime to ensure that those who wish to recycle, and, well, we put it this way, for those who wish to recycle are able to successfully recycle, and how to get more people to wish to recycle so that more of us can keep successfully recycling. So I'm going to introduce somebody in a minute, but just to explain, the situation of the city being in suspension starting in 2021 was an issue that was known in 21, and if you're somebody like me who watches all these city council meetings and Board of Works meetings online, that's something that would have been well noted. I think a lot of residents weren't aware for the same reason that people often don't know about all sorts of things going on in the city, which is if you're not paying attention, if you're not like attending the meetings or following up on that, you're just not going to be able to be aware of some of those details. That said, it was something the city took seriously from the start, and the decisions that were made in 2024 were not brand new, but it was the next step after things have been tried in the past. So not everybody knows, but in the previous 4 years, a lot was done both on the educational front and on the consequence front. Most people know about the consequences for sure. If you ever had a toter that was confiscated and you had to pay $50 to get it back, some of you guys received information about the program and the issues that we were having with it from 21 to 2024. Not everybody knows about a video that was made, and so far as I can tell, not distributed yet at a public meeting. But it was a video that was made, Randy, in 2021 or 22 did this come out?
Yes.
And to put it really simply, it was actually a very neat idea for an overall project that I'd love to see come to fruition in the future, but it was a way to cartoonize things in the city to help educate people more. It was played up on the fact that we had a certain individual who you'll meet pretty soon if you haven't met him already, who was described as the can cop. And what we're going to do, I think for the first time, is we're going to play the can cop video that was not made in this administration, it was previous. I think it's wonderful. And we're happy to show it as kind of an intro to demonstrate just all the different avenues the city has been trying from the start to address this issue. I'll step away because that's the cue for the video to play.
We are still under suspension with our recycling. Last year, we confiscated 634 recycling toters from the system because of severe violations. This year, we've confiscated so far about 230. So they're getting less, but they're still enough out there to contaminate our recycle stream.
Randy, I've been told we're not the only community that's on suspension, right?
Yes.
We seem to be the one that's working hardest to get off of it.
Yes, pretty much all Northwest Indiana is under suspension. And I imagine it goes farther than that. I guarantee you America's recycling is broken. And I don't know what it's going to take for us to get back on track.
Former City Attorney Dan Whidden is aware that this video exists. My phone's on silent, but if he's watching this now and calls me, it says I would have appreciated a heads up. I just want to say I thought that was a fantastic cartoon, and I think that it's a great resource to give information. So as noted, this was from a previous year, previous attempts. I'm now going to introduce the can cop himself, Randy Reeder, to go into a much bigger deep dive of what's happened and where we are. Come on up, can cop.
Well, thank you, Mayor, and thank you for everyone being here and across social media. I think we're being broadcast on Facebook and YouTube, so there's probably a lot of people watching at home. So Well, today's April 9th, 2022. Happy Eclipse Day from yesterday. So hopefully everyone enjoyed that day and great weather out there. But let's get into this public information and educational forum. So I'm Randy. I'm the superintendent of streets and sanitation. Been down at that department a little over 12 years. When I was first came to the city, we were in currently the Red Ben program. Everyone remember that? I remember that. That was a free program provided by the city. It also was a 2-week service. So every 2 weeks, you'd get your truck, you'd put out your Red Bens to the curb, and this specialized equipment would pull up with individual containers on the side, and employees would get out and grab these Red Bens from the curb, and depending on what it is, cardboard, glass, plastic, newspaper, they would fill this truck. The problem with this program, it only diverted about 4 to 5%. That was it. That's about the max we got, was about 4 to 5% every year. Not everyone participated throughout the city as well. It was a very expensive program. It cost the city, or the department, I like to say that, it cost the city's department budget about $350,000 to $400,000 every year for the Red Ben program. It was very labor intensive to sort. Remember when these employees would go out and fill this specialized equipment, once they filled up, they had to go back to the street department, back to the sanitation department, to the recycling. We had a little, I would call it a miniature MRF, where we completely sorted everything. We sorted the glass by white, green, or clear, green, and brown glass. We sorted newspaper, the cardboard, the plastics, 1 and 2s. There's a few other things we sorted, but it was very labor intensive, all right? And once we got all these commodities sorted and bundled and loaded up in the trucks, we were always looking at the market to see who had the best price, who had the highest price. And even though we found the highest price, it still cost. It still went in the hole. It was still in the red as we ran this program. It required specialized equipment, as I said. Now, I want to go back to the trash fee. As we're in this, the trash fee right now, today, is not associated with the recycling program. Each residential household in Portage pays $20 for trash. And it's a great service that we provide our residents. In 2013, we were looking at this Red Ben program, and we were trying to figure out how can we, as a city, improve our recycling, improve this program, and cut this cost, this $350,000 to $400,000 a year. How can we cut it? So what we introduced was a green lid toter. I got that up right there. 2013. For single stream recycling. Seemed like all the communities were going to that. They were saving expenses within the budget, and the major trash haulers were wanting that because they were developing their own MRFs to sort it themselves. So the city, another misconception about our recycling is that there's some people out there that believe that the city receives revenue from its recycling program. We never have. We never have received revenue. Back in the Red Ben, you could probably say we received revenue when we sold off the glass or the paper or the plastic, but once we entered the single stream, we never received any type of revenue for that because recycling, to get rid of it, was $0 per ton. So the recycling collected simply kept that material from entering the landfills. And the diversion rates went from 4 to 5% commingled at the curb to single stream. We reached 21%, which is awesome. Now we're in the double digits. All right, that was an average savings of about $144,000 a year, and at that point, we were able to save quite a few money. Now, the money when I mean save is we set that whatever tonnage we gave away for zero in recycling offset our trash. Understand that? Okay. So over those 10 years, we cut expenses out of the landfill garbage side, $1.4 million over those 10 years. All right, that total tonnage that we collected over those, it was 26,811 tons of recycling. That's 53,622,000 pounds of recycling that we collected through that green can right there for the past 10 years. Cutting that cost, we reorganized some employees' roles, switching to single stream, brought success and growth to the curbside recycling program. And it was a great program that we initiated, and it did save Portage money. But a worldwide event happened in 2018. Anyone have a good idea what happened? 2018. With a single signature from a president across the world, it was China. China was the world's largest importer of recycling. And with just the president's signature, it stopped it like right now. There were ships filled with recycling that was going to China, getting ready to enter their port. And when the president signed that, the government told those ships, wherever you came from, turn around and go home. We don't want your recycling anymore. What happened? Well, the United States recycling exporters were now facing a backlog in centers across America. Remember all that recycling that was going through the front door, and out the back door they were loading ships. That wasn't happening anymore. And recycling started to pile up. And the largest companies in America, I'm not going to name by name, but they're billion-dollar companies, were now losing millions of dollars. Recycling material went from a profit to a loss, and that expense skyrocketed across America. The cascading effect currently went from our recycling being $0 to now that green lid costs $105 a ton to recycle. Now our black lid costs about $64 in trash a ton. Also, COVID hit, and it seemed everything changed at home. Had all these people home during this time of isolation, and now they're focusing on the stuff all their house, their garage. Yeah, we need to get rid of that, And all of a sudden, we found our recycling used as a garbage can, and our contamination rate rose past 30% and greater. And that was reported to us by our waste haulers. And our curb recycling at that time was placed in suspension. Our current Republic Services that manages our contract says, look, Randy, your recycling is dirty. We cannot take this. It is garbage, and it has to be landfilled. It has to be landfilled. You have to do something. So I got with the sanitation, said, look, guys, we got to do something with our recycling. And I told them it's not just us, it's other communities in the neighborhood in Northwest Indiana that are facing the same thing. It seemed like it just was not us, but everyone across our area. So the department attempted to correct this suspension with curbside audits. And the only way you could audit a can is you got to look in it. You got to drive right up to it and look in it, inspect it. What's in there? So we also sent out educational material. We're distributed throughout Portage. We spent thousands of dollars on that. Gave monthly reports to meetings of the progress of our audits. Aggressive measures to lower contamination were done through confiscation. Social media and called me and other employees as we were out, the can cops. And there was one social media platform that's not in existence no more, but our office clerks would monitor that and would report, yeah, they just reported you on this street, they just reported you on that street, so they knew exactly what we were doing. Minor violations were simply adjusted at the curb and noted. I mean, we didn't confiscate toters because they had a pizza box in them. We simply, adjusted it. We put it in the black lid toter, gave a little note, says, hey, encourage them to recycle. But serious violations were photographed. We did our due diligence. We photographed everything. We sent a communications letter marking what was in the can. We delivered a copy to that to the front door and an email address, a phone number saying, hey, when you get home, if you want to know what happened to your recycle toter, give us a call. And we had many people call us. And we had pictures. And they said, yeah, I want to see those pictures. And they never gave us a call back. Because, and this resulted over 1,000 recycling toters taken out of the program during those audits. But these efforts were not enough. I'm going to show you what some of the stuff that we did at the curb. You can see these pictures. We got thousands of pictures. As we went down the street inspecting, and we would try to inspect probably anywhere from 200 to 300 totes every morning. We would work with the recycling routes and have those guys work other areas as we inspected another area. And as soon as we were done with those areas, then they would come in and get those cans. But this is not recycling. And this is why we document this stuff, because photographs and documentation always cover what you're doing. We had people mark their green lid toter. Yeah, this is trash, not recycling. And guess what happened with that can? We took it. We confiscated it. You can see the Pepsi. This was an interesting one. I'll remember this one. As I pulled up, I went out, looked at it, and I said, oh, wow, this is really bad. And there was some full Pepsi cans in there, and she seen me through the picture window, and she came out to the sidewalk area, and we had a very aggressive debate about this can here. And I picked up one of the full Pepsis, and I actually opened it up to her and poured it into it, and I did the mic drop, and I took her can. So I explained who I was, and she was really shocked that the superintendent would be out there looking through cans. But we were compassionate about our recycling program. We really wanted to get it. We really wanted to see our recycling program back on track and under that 10% contamination rate. So you can see the grass bags. There's a tire on the right-hand side there. Clothing. We got concrete in the middle one. There's some used oil in the very far right. I did this one, and those cans were used oil. So, there's a pitch. Someone put dirt. This is an interesting one, and I'm pretty sure that they were just like saying, "Hey, take my can," because this one, our machines couldn't even pick this up. So what we did was we got some help over there. We tipped that can and put that dirt back in their front yard. So we left the dirt, but we kept the can. So anyways, through this suspension, we had to change some policies due to the program suspension. Recycling material, as we were entering the new year, we said, look, we're going to have to do something, and we changed the policy and said, look, we're not going to collect any more recycling at the curb because this is just an absolute, we're spinning our tires, we're not getting nowhere. The contamination rate seems to keep going, and we were trying everything we could to do that. So the city council changed the trash ordinance and to revise and accommodate 2 cans. Now the green lid, no matter what the color of the lid, determines no longer the service. So now every resident has up to 2 trash cans for trash service. So residents still have options and opportunities to recycle. We've established, or the county has established many recycling centers throughout the county. The street and sanitation has 2 large 20-yard recycle containers now at the department. We used to have the 8-yarders, but I talked to Republic Services and give us the big ones. I want the big ones. And we do have an e-waste. We have a beautiful e-waste center now. It's in one of the buildings, and sanitation worked hard on that. So come down and visit us if you got any e-waste. And then US 12 compost site also has e-waste and recycling center. So there's other opportunities, and the Porter County Recycling District has many resources on their website. So there's the website there. So anyways, as we move on, where do we go from here in creating more opportunities? I still want to recycle. I really do. It has been a passion of mine for years, and this is very disheartening of what Portage and other communities are going through, all right? What does a reboot curbside recycling program look like, all right? I've heard this phrase before. I want to continue with recycling, but have convenience. It is very inconvenient for me to load up recycling in the back of my car and head to the nearest recycling center. When it was so convenient to have a truck, a one-armed bandit, come down the street and pick up my green lid, and I didn't have to worry about it. So when the cost of recycling is at $105 a ton, when you really look at that can, I mean, it's mind-boggling. I can't wrap my mind around it, but this world has changed. And that was at $0 just a few years ago, and now it's $105. There's other communities in the area, I'm not going to mention who they are, but one is paying $121 a ton. And other communities are faced with the same thing. Their recycling is going through the roof in expenses to the budget. So the days of free recycling being processed are forever gone. It's the sad reality that we live in today's society. All right? And the other reality that we could determine is that not everyone wants to recycle. In the Red Bin program, not everyone had those. But when we went to single stream, we handed out 12,400 of those cans throughout the city. We handed those to people that had no interest in recycling, but they did for a while. And the program was successful at first, but guess what happened after time? They didn't follow the policy, and it contaminated our recycle stream. And there's people next door to me. If we were going to reboot this, I know my neighbors, they don't want to recycle, but I do. I can't force them to recycle. I don't think that's a right, or I don't think there's any type of law that I could force someone to recycle. And I don't think, I mean, we're Americans. We have a free choice. So forcing someone to recycle, I don't believe in that at all, even though I enjoy recycling. The convenience can be achieved, but it's going to cost the individual who wants to recycle. The expense of a truck, fuel, labor cost, all adds up, along with this $105 tip-in fee. Remember when I said tip-in fee? That's what it costs to tip the recycling, clean recycling, in a processing center, $105 a ton. So this optional pilot program that we're thinking of regarding a reboot for our curbside recycling would depend on many factors. The minimum participants are required to maintain an ongoing success in this recycling program. There's a minimum participants that we must. I mean, let's say if we did this pilot program and only 100 people sign up for it, it ain't going to work. We need a lot more. We need a lot more than that. I don't know what that number is. We're still crunching the numbers, but a monthly recycle fee, and I don't know what that amount is, but you got to figure out to offset the cost of collecting it, transportation, and tip-in fees of $105 a ton of clean recycling. That's all got to be figured in. There's no way our trash budget can sustain this type of program without collecting some type of fee to process it. A stringent list of material must be followed. The recycling program would be required at least a one-year obligation. As a resident who says, I want to be part of this and agree to this, and then a couple months down the road says, no, come get the recycle toter. I'm not interested no more. That hurts the program. It really does. And then all tote policies would have to be followed as in trash service. So I'd just like to hold all comments and questions till the end, but that is where we're at right now. And I believe there's many opportunities to continue our recycling in this region and Portage, and we'll continue to seek other opportunities as well. So I'm Randy, the Can Cop. I'm done.
Thank you, Randy. So One of the biggest misconceptions, and I'm comfortable saying it multiple times because online and in meetings and in emails, I was comfortable saying it multiple times. You got to be able to answer the same question with a smile if you want to be in politics, or at the very least, if you want to do it right. We had people who reached out when we made changes to the program and asked a really good question. They said, "What am I paying $20 a year for? It says recycling on my tax bill." And it's amazing how many things you learn and how many things that you find out about when there's a change and you look it up. So as noted, that $20 fee that you pay, it was never going to the city's recycling program. It was never intended to go to the city's recycling program. There's no trick there. That is a tax or a fee that goes to what's called the Porter County Recycling and Waste Reduction District, which is a county entity we've all got the ability to make use of at their recycling drop-off sites throughout the county. When we assessed what we were going to do about this contamination issue, and it really was a big issue, especially when you understand that there are people who are diligent. I wish I was as diligent as some of the people that I've met who have come up and discussed what's happened with the program. People who took a jar of peanut butter and they washed it. You know, the people who take the cans and they make sure all the pop is out and you wash it. Those people, and what was so tough about the way it's been going, is that somebody who's that diligent puts the stuff in their green lid toter. And I've had people say, well, no, we know that the program was contaminated, but I did my part. And the tough answer to tell people is, yes, you did. You did your part, and that's the worst part. For all of your work, everything that you put into your green lid still went into landfill. It's in landfill right now. It's the hardest thing to tell somebody who worked diligently that that particular work did not succeed. Not because of them, but because the other people who were not committed to the opt-in didn't do their part, knowingly or unknowingly. I say all that because to reference back to that $20 fee that we pay that supports the county district. On one hand, the fact that there were people who believed that they were paying for the city's program is actually very encouraging, because it's kind of like it's like the story of a flood where a bird comes back with a piece of grass and you know that there's land somewhere. Some people might know what story I'm talking about. There's an element of realizing, wait, there are people who not only are willing to pay for a recycling service, but who actually believe that they were and were quite happy with it. Now, as Randy pointed out, can we successfully create a rebooted curbside service that services people who are dedicated to recycling, and can we do that in a way to make it convenient for those dedicated people? I believe it's possible, but there's numbers that need to be crunched. But in the meantime, we are all paying annually a fee that supports the county's recycling drop-off. As the mayor of the largest city in the county, not saying that to brag, but it's why I'm on this board, I get to serve on the board for the county waste reduction and recycling district. At a recent meeting, I won't go into all details of that meeting, but there were some things being reviewed by that board, and I asked a bunch of questions, because if you know me, I ask a bunch of questions. And the big thing I stated is, now that Portage has discontinued the curbside pickup, and we have a recycling drop-off site, including one of the spots managed by the county, that is crucial that that program stays sustainable, and that people who are using it, people using the drop-off site at our street department, can know and trust that what they are putting in is getting recycled. And that is the case currently, and we want to keep it that way. And so with more people with good intentions coming to use the drop-off site, it's really important that residents know what can and can't be recycled. Some of us know this already, but that's why we're so happy that you're here, Carrie, to give the refresher on best practices. What can you put in there? How to make sure that the county district service stays available for people to be able to successfully recycle. And here we go.
Perfect, thank you. My name is Carrie Mars Barone. Hold on one second. This is perfect. You have to have props. I mean, props are the best way. I'm a very visual learner, so Recycling 101, this is very basic. This is just the basics. So if you are one of those residents who put your peanut butter jar in the dishwasher and you remove the label and you clean it out, we love you. This might be a little more advanced, but hang tight, because there's going to be some things you'll learn along the way. Unfortunately, the recycling industry changes every day, pretty much weekly. So bear with us. Very simple. We're making this really basic. So who we are, Mayor Bonta just explained, we are the Recycling and Waste Reduction District, and our vision is that we engage every Porter County resident in a waste reduction lifestyle. That starts with very basic things as choosing a reusable bottle. It's saying, hey, I'm gonna remember my reusable bag, just anything that you can do to reduce your waste. Because what happens right now, we are over 5 pounds a day. Each one of us in this room creates over 5 pounds a day of waste and trash. That includes things that are recyclable, that includes things that are yard waste, but the average for a United States citizen is 5 pounds a day. So I'm ballparking, there's 20 to 25 of us in this room. We're over 100 to 125 pounds just of us who've created waste alone, just today on April 9th. So why we need to work on waste reduction. What is recycling? Recycling is probably the most important thing that I can discuss, and it's when you collect a material that might have been thrown away, and it can be converted, manufactured into another product. So maybe this bottle is being placed back into the world. So what's happening is the material, well, hold on, I got ahead of myself. It's made into a new product. Why do we recycle it? Because we're saving that raw material that we would have to draw. I like to use trees and paper. The month of April is Earth Month, so the Lorax is one of my favorite examples, but you think of all the trees we cut down for paper, and all that paper, if it doesn't make it back to a recycling industry, that's more trees we're cutting down. Drive down the road, look at some of these trees took 100 years plus to grow. We're burning through our raw materials way too fast right now. So we need to work on recycling. It conserves energy. It reduces pollution. Randy was just talking about numbers. You think of the number of trucks that are on the street, that you reduce that amount. Those are really important things. And most importantly, it keeps really valuable materials from the landfill. I'm going to get into just basic electronics. We don't talk about electronics enough. But if you knew about batteries and you knew about cell phones and you knew about these cords that are sitting in front of me, it's so easy to say, you know what? Just throwing it in the trash. The reason we have e-waste recycling facilities, besides that there's a law in Indiana, but secondly, there's minerals, there's really, really intense, different valuable resources that come from our earth that take years to make, years to mine, that we're just like, I'm too bothered to put it in a special recycling container, therefore I throw it away. So just keep that in mind. I like to go back to the Lorax again, because think, what do we want for our children, our legacy, our grandchildren, who will be here to see our earth as we continue. So now, basic recycling. Anybody, and I apologize if this is, but I like feedback, so number one contaminant. I need the audience participation. Anybody, and for those of you who've been in my class, this row right here, they're not allowed to answer. Does anybody know what the number one recycling contaminant is? Hold on. I heard pizza boxes and plastic bags. So, you talked a little bit about a MRF. A MRF is the sorting facility. I'm going to do a very quick overview. There's a video at the end I won't show, but we're happy to share it. Most of the recyclables in our community in Northwest Indiana go through the MRF at Homewood Disposal out of Homewood, Illinois. What happens is it's sorted and it goes through a traditional conveyor belt. This is the conveyor belt. I like to use my wingspan, not super tall. I know the basketball games just ended yesterday. I don't have Zach Edey's wingspan. However, that's about 4 foot, 5 foot is your width of a conveyor belt. That's the picture I'm showing right now. That is, anybody had to clean up a lawnmower? When you go through the lawnmower and you have to pull those ties, the bags, something caught into your lawnmower you didn't mean to do, and you had to flip it over, and how long does it take you to pull that out? All those little weeded pieces of plastic. This is their conveyor belt at the recycling sorting facility. Like I said, my wingspan, twice in an 8-hour shift, the entire recycling process stops. The entire sorting facility. This is a huge business. If I have any business owners in here, can you imagine having to stop your entire line, your entire production, because you have to clean up this mess? So this is what our contamination is. This is a perfect example. How many of us, and I get this every week, I really do, the person who goes through the peanut butter clean, I call it the peanut butter cleanse, they do all the work. They remove every single label. And in order to keep it clean, they put it in a plastic bag and they put it in the toter or the bin. That's those plastic bags. So we really have to work on plastic. I'm excited. I actually have my Earth Day new shirt on today because the theme for Earth Day 2024 is planet versus plastics. So we really have to work on our plastic consumption, our plastic waste reduction. So, okay, so basic. Where can you recycle? We know that Portage did eliminate curbside recycling. So one of the really important things that as a district, and I'm going to just jump back because I get this question a lot, so I figure this is a perfect platform. Property tax bills have recently gone out. You will notice at the bottom of if you are a property tax owner with a dwelling on your property, therefore if you don't own land, just only land, you have a house, you will notice at the very bottom it says OA, other assessment, and it says recycling, $20. The Recycling and Waste Reduction District is funded off that $120 annual fee that any Porter County resident pays. And this covers all of our services from e-waste to drop-off recycling to if you've visited a compost site, you use the yard waste or household hazardous waste. If you have children, we have a licensed teacher. We're very fortunate. We have a licensed teacher who is in every Porter County school teaching environmental issues. So that $20, not just for Portage, there's a $20 trash fee, but the $20 fee on your recycling, or excuse me, your property taxes, that is what funds us. So if you don't have a recycling bin, these are 7 locations. There are 2 in Portage, so we have the street department, our compost site, which is open between March and December. You have the Valparaiso compost site. I love Portage because Portage sits kind of in a fun northern part of the county. So you might be closer to Burns Harbor, you might be closer to Valpo, you might be closer to a corner of the Chesterton Avenue. So I like to give you all of the 7. I realize there's a handful that are really South County, not so far, but hey, you know what? You are a Porter County resident. If you are driving through and you're like, you know what, I'm hopping, skipping, and I'm gonna go south, and I have my whole trunk full of cardboard boxes, they're open to all Porter County residents. So just because you might be a Portage resident doesn't mean you only have to go to the Portage location. So open to all 7. These are the locations. They are currently on our website as well at portercountyrecycling.org. So these are the pictures of your Portage locations. I don't know which way it's viewing, but on my left screen, the Portage compost site. Currently also where Randy mentioned we have an e-waste site as well as those bins. You will notice a difference of the district bins. A lot is talked about contamination. I call our bins, we are locked. There is actually a lock bar, there are padlocks on each one, and each mouth, I call it the mouth, they all have different shapes. So I call it the Amazon Smile. That is for your cardboard. You've recently moved, you've ordered a lot of Amazon, you've got your Chewy box shipping, whatever you've ordered, new furniture, new mattress, those broken down cardboard. Yes, we realize it's inconvenient. This is what prevents contamination. If you have an open mouthed container, people have a tendency, as you saw the pictures. I have numerous pictures that I can show you of what, actually the Portage sites, we used to manage a site behind Willow Creek School, I believe. I can show you, the district staff have spent between 6 to 8 hours cleaning those sites of things from furniture to unbelievable amounts of stuff that were just dropped off between days. So you'll see, like I said, I call them the mouse. So the smaller mouth of each of the lid has for your bottles. This also prevents you from taking an entire toter or garbage can and dumping it right in. So we realize it is a minor challenge, but it does reduce our contamination so we can make sure our material is recycled. If you skip to the next picture, you'll notice this is actually at your streets and sanitation department. So I talked to Randy today, so the hours there are Monday through Friday, 7 to 3. And starting May 4th, it'll have Saturday hours. So your Saturday hours will be May 4th to October 26th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So excited about those. The district side on the left is March 8, or because we are a seasonal, the compost site is seasonal, March 18th to December 7th. However, many of those sites are open year-round, so. So I like to talk about, I should have referenced, that was called an 8-yard bin, the mouth. So now, here is the fun part of this, what goes in it, right? Anybody in here heard of a triangle system, right? If you have a recycled item, I guess the easiest thing I keep pulling is this Dawn bottle. You look at the bottom, it's got a triangle, right? Correct? I'm looking at a lot of shaking heads. That is absolutely false. So about 20, 30 years ago, they taught us all in the recycling industry that the triangle told us that's what goes in the recycle bin. That is the reason why we currently have so much contamination. What the triangle implies is it's made out of a material that has been recycled, okay? So it's a component of a plastic. You might have heard of a PP, you might hear of an HDPE, all of the high-density polypropylene. You'll hear all these chemical fancy names. This does not tell you it is recyclable. So that's probably the most shocking factor of all. So now we're gonna just jump into basic stuff. Paper, right? Paper is probably the, well, not one of the, it's one of the easier ones. So when you think about paper, I like to give you images. Like I said, the Chewy boxes, the Amazon boxes, your mail. If it's glossy, that's okay. We actually received a phone call today that somebody said, I'm cleaning out, I have a stack of phone books. If you can remember a stack of phone books. Those are recyclable. The cereal boxes, the granola boxes, anything that can be broken down, it can be recycled. I like to use a spaghetti or a pasta box, a tissue box. Reason being, it has cellophane in it, right? So you immediately think, no, I need to remove that plastic. Not true. Just as is, you can put it in your recycle bin. No spaghetti, no food. No food, clean, empty. Trying to think of other paper bags, basic your paper stuff. Now, an interesting discussion we get occasionally, books. A hardback book does not belong in your recycle bin because it has that hardcover. If you have a magazine, if you have a paperback, that's all paper, that's absolutely fine, but not something that has a hardback cover. So, anybody have any questions on paper? Okay. Oh, yeah. Wrapping paper, as long as it does not have glitter. So, and I should have said to you, another rule of thumb with the paper, Post-it note to business card is about the smallest size that you want to put in there. And the reason being, going back to that big conveyor belt, it's not that it's not recyclable, it falls through. It's an industrial size machinery, so it falls through those lines. So shredded paper, not. So shredded paper, and we'll get into it in a few slides, but shredded paper, actually, I believe we have someone at our Earth Day who's collected once for, like, many of your, I think it's Washington Park Zoo, you'll look at many of, like, some of the animal shelters. If you know anybody who raises guinea pigs or animals, they like the paper. If you are a food composter at home and you're a juicer, shredded paper is a great way to absorb that extra liquid into your food waste as well. So, okay, aluminum recycling. Aluminum, pretty much straightforward. Aluminum, tin, metal, right? It can be your traditional soda cans, beer cans, your pop cans, your, looks like a cat food can or a tuna can. I do give this important thing. When we talk about things being clean and dry, clean doesn't mean that you're going to eat off of it. I don't want anyone to cut their finger cleaning a tuna can. Sorry, I shiver every time. A cat food can, anything that has a really sharp edge. I chuckle when you think about this. This is a can that you might have had dog food in. It might have had tuna in it. How long do you want that sitting in your home before you take it to the recycle bin? That's not going to be very fragrant, right? It might be worth rinsing it out to get the tuna out. But the recycling centers are just asking for the most part that it's fairly clean, not Doesn't have to be, and when I'm saying that, it's tuna. If you have a little bit of a drip of soda left, it's all right. A full pop can, not acceptable, but aluminum recycling, pretty simple. Any questions on aluminum or tin?
Well, I do.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you take the top off,
For like a top off of your aluminum recycling, you can throw it right into your recycle container as well. We'll get into in a minute, a spaghetti jar that has a tin lid, you can put it right back onto. So, glass. This is one of my favorite concepts, and the reason being is most people don't realize, I should have backed up when I said aluminum. Aluminum can be recycled up to 8 times. So if you have an aluminum can, it can be recycled, again, 8 times. Glass recycling, anybody have any idea how many times glass can be recycled? Indefinitely. It's made out of sand. So how cool is that? So we do encourage that your lids stay on. So this, like I said, here's a Alfredo jar. You put the lid on, a salsa jar or whatnot. And this is one of the new trends of the drinks, if you've seen them. I don't even know how you pronounce it, but it is a glass bottle. It has a little bit of plastic. If you have probably a preteen or teenager, there is a glass, I don't think it's glass, but it looks like a marble. And in order to drink, this is the one in the middle, in order to drink it, you have to force this bubble down, and that's what releases your drink. It's fizzy. I'm old and I call it the Mrs. Grass soup that you had to have the golden nugget, so this is kind of what I just chalked it up to. However, it's fully recyclable in your recycle bin too, even with that plastic on top. So now we get into the problem. Plastics. So if you remember me saying the triangle doesn't matter for this system, what does matter is this goofy saying that we call it bottles, tubs, and jugs. If it does not take that shape, it does not belong in a recycle bin. And that is one of the largest contaminants right now in our entire recycling system. This is one of the issues. I should have prefaced this, and I apologize that I didn't when I started this. What also determines the recycling system is our region. So if you watch today, if you see a program on Good Morning America, you see a program in California, you see a program in Oregon, New Jersey, I'm looking at the people who are leading, the states who are leading environmental efforts, and they tell you, this is what's happening in our state. Doesn't matter. You need to focus on what's happening here in Northwest Indiana, because that is what sets our region and what tells our contamination. So please keep that in mind. I get calls all the time of people who say, oh, my sibling called me, they live on the East Coast, and they said they cannot recycle this. Can I put it in my bin? And no, it has not changed in Northwest Indiana. So keep that in mind, please. So back to the bottles, tubs, and jugs. Your traditional bottle makes logical sense. Your soap bottle, your pop bottle, a water bottle. A quick disclaimer on a soap bottle: if you have your traditional, shampoo bottle, totally fine. Lid on, everything on. If you have a gigantic pump bottle, right, like the enormous pump, the pump needs to be thrown away. The pump isn't recyclable, but that's only on pumps. So, tubs. Your tub is your traditional Cool Whip, cottage cheese, butter, yogurt. I just had one today, which I thought I threw it in here. I'm absolutely now fascinated with the cottage cheese containers with the lids on them. Have you ever seen? They're yay big. That fully can go in a recycle bin. So you keep that into your size dimension, not smaller than a yogurt cup. So if it's smaller than a yogurt cup, it's too small. But yogurt cup, applesauce, those all go into the recycle bin. Medicine bottles, lid on, yes, can go in the recycle bin. Your jugs are your traditional orange juice bottle or orange juice jug, water gallon jug, laundry detergent, the bigger laundry detergent jugs. That is usually what falls under the plastic recycling. So, any question? Yeah. The number means currently nothing, correct. It's a really interesting story. Actually, it was a college project. A gentleman started it in the 1970s as saying, how neat would it be if it could be a numbered system? And he commented on it last year stating he never thought it would have taken off. It's not regulated, it's not, any manufacturer can put it on their product and tell you what it is. So it's really not. Because if you think about it today, if you go to the store and you buy I'm thinking of something I just recently bought, like a pair of scissors, and it's in a package container, and I always joke, it's the package container that you can't open. You're literally like, I need a set of tools to open this package container. If you look on that, there's a triangle with a number on it. And it is not a recyclable item. It is not in the shape of a bottle, tub, and jug. So, unfortunately.
Who is recycling plastics anymore?
Who is recycling? I mean, besides residents? Or they're, like right now, I was actually working with the state this week. We have a company in Fort Wayne, in Allen County, who actually will take boat wrap. So this is a season for a lot of different. Part of the problem with plastic recycling, it's a rob Peter to pay Paul. So what many people are doing, some of the industry is taking it as they're shredding it, they're melting it, they're breaking it down. It could be made into a biosynthetic, it could be made into a fuel, but it still ultimately comes down to it's a component of plastic.
Yeah,
So.
I was told nobody's really doing it anymore because of the cost involved, and it's not really a money maker.
No, it's not. It really is a,
It's going like overseas.
there's a handful of companies that still work with it. I mean, I tell every presentation that I give, we need innovation, we need entrepreneurship, we need to come up with new ways, new ideas, and going back to waste reduction.
I
Yeah.
agree with that, but right now,
Yeah. What do we do with it? I mean,
I
and,
heard they're all getting shipped off. So,
okay, I haven't heard that fully yet, so. Back to, well, China still isn't accepting, but there some more, unfortunately, some of the other third world countries like Malaysia and in that area as well, so.
What about the plastic, like just the Amazon bag you receive or plastic bubble packing?
You would think that you were programmed. That is my next slide, so perfect. Okay, so plastic film recycling. This is probably the newest industry that's happening right now, right? You have your Amazon bags, you have your Ziploc bags, you have, this looks like a produce bag, your bread bag, your newspaper bag. These are all being collected. I just spoke about the boat wrap through a plastic film recycling company. What is really, really important to note about this, it does not go in the 8-yard bin. This is not a curbside, it is a specialized bin. If you've recently been in a grocery store when you're first walking in, a Meijer, Kohl's, all of them, they say this is exactly where you collect them. You drop them off right there. Our compost sites all collect them. There's a picture in the very bottom corner with a big sign that says, please recycle your clean and dry plastic bags here. So when you do that, what happens is it's the machinery issue. Again, that is why they have to be collected separately. So an alarming statistic in 2022, and I know some of the streets and sanitation crew are here, so they'll know this, but we collected at our 6 hazardous waste events and through our drop-off sites in Portage and Valparaiso, 35,000 pounds of plastic bags. That is equivalent to the size of a payloader. So when you see the sanitation and streets department crew driving by in that enormous piece of equipment, that's huge. In 2023, we were thrilled to see it drop down to 22,000 pounds. So I think that was a good win because we're encouraging more people to say, let's use reusable, let's carry a cardboard, let's choose paper, let's be more cognizant of this plastic bag. So, bubble wrap, I'm trying to think of what are more specific. Anybody have any specific questions on plastic film? Okay. Oh, yeah,
Sorry.
that's okay.
I'm thinking, it might be that one in the top right corner is the same type of material I'm thinking of, but I'm thinking of like Something like if you've ever like bought jerky at the store, you know, those.
Sure, yeah, sure.
Is this, or would that fall in?
No, actually, great question. So one of the interesting two things about jerky is, okay, so let me back up. Water bottle, if you buy a case of water bottle, I highly encourage you to use reusable. But if you bought paper towels and you have that plastic wrap around it, toilet paper, that plastic wrap can completely go into plastic film recycling. In our household, we buy it from the bulk stores, so I use that as my bag of collection point. So I actually have a stack in my car because my husband told me there were too many in the house right now. So I work in the industry, I needed to get the bag out. But instead of using another plastic bag, I actually use the collection point of my paper towel bag. So that's with that. The jerky, the frozen food bags, which are so contained heavily in food, and if you try to pull them and they're really, really tough and tight, like too tight, it's trash. This is actually a not a chemical test, because obviously there's different, each plastic is made from a different material, but that is kind of the judgment that they share in the plastic recycling. So like this poor plastic bag is so easy to tear, right? That is the reason it can make it into the bin. So frozen food, like if you buy frozen chicken or frozen meat, anything in one of those containers, no, it doesn't go in the bin at all, unfortunately. So, yeah, of course, good question. So that's why I bring my bag of props, so that I can hopefully keep propping more things up. So now we hit tricky items, and I like to throw the tricky items in for a handful. Red Solo cups. Everybody thinks a red Solo cup is a recycled item. It is not. It is a multi-layered material, and it cannot be separated in the recycling process. So there's 3 to 4 chemical layers that cannot be removed, and it can't be reused. Now, if you would go to a clear cup, that can be recycled. It is, those clear, they're really flimsy, like when you can squeeze them, you know that will be recycled. So you'll see it says not in the drop-off bins. Berry, strawberry, they're called clamshells. They have this clap. They don't go in the recycle bin. This is probably it's sunny today, right? It's beautiful. We're all thinking, how about some fresh fruit? How good stuff that you can have. Those fruit containers are trash, unfortunately. So if you can find an alternative, if you collect, your fruit that's not in a container, that works too. Takeout containers. The takeout containers of like the Chinese food, they're made out of a handful of material. They don't belong in the recycle bin. They unfortunately go in the trash. Your containers of the other takeout containers, the white and the black containers that you get from to-go's, it doesn't make the shape of a tub, a jug, or a bottle. Therefore, unfortunately, it's trash or reusable or repurpose. The same with, right now, black plastic is an issue through our local MRF, and the reason being, this technology was created 50 years ago. If you go back to the technology created 50 years ago, everything went through a conveyor belt. What color is a conveyor belt? It's black. It's like a black conveyor belt, and so the optic sensor that's identifying what the material is, it can't make out the difference between a black plastic and a black conveyor belt. So you'll start to see they've started to change the colors, but currently this is not a acceptable material. The next couple items are tricky, and the reason being is you'll see it's a to-go container of a soda. So you're thinking it's clear. Clear should mean it's recyclable, but I'm calling it tricky because the lid and the straw are trash. So if you are willing to remove the lid and the straw, you can put that in the trash. The cup can be recycled, clear. So, and you've started to see most of the fast food restaurants have recently all switched from that paper material to this clear material because they can be recycled. The coffee cup is another tricky issue. Currently, the only thing that is able to be recycled on your current coffee is what they call the sleeve, so you don't burn yourself. The coffee cup and the lid are not recyclable. Now, again, we'd think, my gosh, this is wax, this is paper, this is easy. One of the reasons it's not is because of human behavior. How many people have sat somewhere and you watched somebody who's eating a cup of coffee, or eating a muffin, eating a donut, eating something, whatever, snack, and they have their coffee cup, and then what do they do with their trash? They don't throw it away. They put it right in the cup, right? And then they take the cup and they throw it in the recycle bin. So it's a contamination, so it's all trash. Receipts. How many of us have had a receipt and you notice that, oh my gosh, like what happened to it? It turned a different color, like I can't read the writing on it. Again, this paper is a heated material and it has a film and an element on it, therefore it can't go in the recycle bin. So, the pizza box. The pizza box is tricky, and the reason the pizza box is tricky is it depends on your passion. If you are not passionate enough to cut off the clean cardboard, just put it all in the trash. If you are passionate enough to cut off the clean cardboard, clean goes into the recycle bin, and the greasy, crusty pizza goes in the trash. I can tell you, hands down, I've talked to so many drivers, I've been with the drivers, I've been at the MRF, I've been through the transfer station. There's crusty pizza in the boxes. People don't even throw their garbage away. I mean, they literally just go, oh, it's a recycle. Food, everything is right in it. I mean, the can cop has seen it all, I know. We see a lot, so. Okay, so special items. This is really important to not make sure they're not in your recycle bin. I can't emphasize this enough. Batteries. If you haven't heard enough, right now, there's a facility in Ohio, MRF. In 2023, 60 fires they had. Very, very clean facility. 60, 6-0, all related to batteries. There was new technology. So this is, and I'm talking easy peasy. I mean, I've got a little mouse here. These things, oh, it's just a AA battery. Oh, it's something. No biggie. I'll just throw it in the recycle bin. It has a chemical in it. The minute a compactor hits it, a spark is given. Think about that. You have one minor spark around paper. That's a fire ready to happen. So they don't go there special collections. There are 40 locations across the county for batteries, e-waste, mercury light bulbs, aerosol containers. These are all things that the recycling district is happy to help you find, but they don't go in an 8-yard container, nor do they go in a trash can. So some simple landfill things, like we said, receipt, the shredded paper, styrofoam. Styrofoam is horrific. The McDonald's French fry wrappers, any of them, because if they hold a whole bunch of grease on them, the companies don't want them. And I'll get into that in one moment, but if you look at the very bottom, it's kind of small. It looks like it's a black and white and green cup. A new trend that's happening right now too is you'll hear about compostable cups, compostable silverware, compostable plates. It is a new environmental trend encouraging people to buy this great material to utilize at your home. The problem is they all range in a percentage, contain plastic. And so what happens is these compostable utensils need to go through a special machinery, extract the plastic, and then the other remaining compostable material can be recycled, reused again. Unfortunately, there are two in the United States right now. So we don't have them. So if you see it in the region, don't buy it, save your money. They usually cost a little bit more. We appreciate your environmental efforts. We encourage you to do something else, but that one, unfortunately, would go in the landfill. But one of the reasons that we talk about the trash is it's really, really important to make sure we remember how much we can reduce some of our waste. So one more thing. Our curbside recycling guides are online at portercountyrecycling.org. I actually have a copy of them up here. We work with Homewood Disposal. So as a community, as a county, we all need to become consistent on what Homewood's guidelines are. So if you have a waste hauler who might be Michiana Resources, or Michiana's not in our area anymore, Waste Management, Republic, if you have a waste hauler who is collecting and recycling, most of it is all going to Homewood. So we all need to be consistent on the same materials that we're sharing and offering. So that's what our big mission here is on working with waste reduction. So if you have any questions, you can certainly reach out to the district. You can, we are on Facebook, Recycle Porter County. We have email, we have phone numbers. We take calls all day long and questions about the materials we accept. There is if you have ever any interest and you want to learn more about recycling, we would encourage you to look at the Homewood disposal recycling process. There's a YouTube video, it's about 4 to 5 minutes long. It's really fascinating to see what happens once you drop off a recycle. Now, the second question I get asked all the time is, Carrie, are you absolutely certain your recycles, the recycled material that Porter County residents have put into that bin, are making it to the MRF? And I, honest to God, can tell you yes, and my staff can as well. We are questioned so often that you can take a master recycler course, you can learn more. But last year, we followed the drivers. We hired a driver to take us, and we chuckled because we kept thinking this driver was watching us like, is somebody stalking me? Yes, because there's this group of 15 people who keep following you. But we literally connected. Our current recycling district contract is through Republic, so those recycling blue bins that you see, we are contracted with Republic, so the Republic picked up their load, and they took it to the local transfer station in Chesterton. We met them in Chesterton. We got a tour, but they didn't realize the driver was being loaded to be delivered to Homewood Disposal. We followed that truck. We knew the number. The supervisor was the only person who was coordinated who knew what was happening besides us. We met and we watched that load of materials from Chesterton, Indiana at the transfer station get dropped and sorted in Homewood. So we watched our material. We also were in shock in some of the things that come through the recycling bin. Because as you can see, we have those mouths that are closed and locked, but yet people still shove a plastic bag. People still try to figure out styrofoam being shoved into a bin. PVC piping, it doesn't belong in there. Some of our locations actually have cameras, and we have caught violators on, we post that it's being, recorded, and people still randomly shove things into the recycling bin. So if you have a chance, it is the Homewood disposal recycling process. I think it's called Journey Through Recycling. So, yep. So aerosol and paint cans are actually hazardous waste. So our next hazardous waste event will, the first one for the season is Saturday, May 4th. I believe the first one in Portage is June 8th, and I actually have the printout schedule here with us. So there are 7 this year throughout the county that will have 7 different locations for hazardous waste. But yeah, aerosol, even the spray deodorant, spray oil. One that I recently found I thought was very fascinating. If you are you like to cook and you like to fry, or this was the season of wings, that you have a lot of leftover cooking oil, save your cooking oil. It can be brought to a hazardous waste event as well, and cooking oil, there's lots of different things. Spray paint cans, yes. If one of the biggest misnomers, if you have latex paint, so if you don't know if it's latex paint, somewhere on the can, it'll say it is washable with water. It is 90% of the paint that's used in most homes, most locations. If it is washable with water, it is not hazardous. You just need to dry it out because it will make a giant mess. Once it's dried out, it can be dried out with paper shreds. It can be dried out with kitty litter. It can be dried off with, there's hardener kits you can buy at your local do-it-yourself stores, and lid off, it goes right in your trash can. So, but lots of hazardous waste. Another exciting thing, and I'm hoping that Portage residents, I'm just going to take a minute to offer this too. We have recently started a program with the Porter County Health Department. So if you are a person who utilizes medical sharps, that might be your diabetic, your needles, your syringes, the patches. I know it's like the day after boost for chemotherapy and your different treatments that you have to wear. You may bring those to the Porter County Health Department, the Valparaiso and Portage locations. They are accepted at all of our hazardous waste events as well. However, those are only 7 dates a year. So the health department, during their office hours, I don't want to quote their office hours, I don't know them right off the top of my head, but they are open year-round that you can bring those to, so.
With the needles, can you take them to the hospital? Is there a needle box?
If they have a needle box, yes. So, COVID made it really weird, so some of the hospitals said no, and that's actually how we responded with our program. And so like the Portage Health Department location is in the North County building, and you can just go right over there and drop them off, so, yeah.
Can you tell us about the compost at the compost site?
Oh, yeah, very exciting. So we're we have great compost sites if you're not familiar in the county. But for all Porter County residents, compost is free. So compost is the process of the leaves that are being collected and a component of grass, and they go through a decomposition process. It is great for your yard. It is great for your environment. We do encourage people to mulch their grass. You don't have to collect it, but I know the city of Portage, you can bring it out to your facility. We actually have the International Compost Awareness Week that'll be coming up, and you can get it loaded, put it back on your yard. So, but at the compost site here in Portage, we collect electronics. So when we talked about batteries, smoke detectors, plastic bags, we have the recycling there. You can bring your brush, you can bring your limbs, your leaves that you've cleaned your yard in. Not garbage, all clean material. So, lots of different things. So, and that's at 6451 US Highway 12. And like I said, it's not just open to Portage residents, it's open to all Porter County residents. So like I said, if you're Burns Harbor and you live right off of the 149 area and you want to hop right over there, it's right down the road. We've had Beverly Shores.
And why would you want to bring your yard waste? You can't just throw that in the garbage.
Should not put it in the garbage. Indiana law actually tells you should not put yard waste into the garbage. The other reason actually is yard waste is one of those huge components of why we're generating so much garbage each day. Yard waste, brush is one of those factors of what we're dealing with. So, and it's great to give back to the earth, if you think about it. The grass was here. We're coming back on a big recycling issue. What the state needs, and federally what we need to look at, is what's called in-producer responsibility. We just had this discussion in our office today. If you think about it, when a manufacturer creates something brand new, have they made a plan of how you get rid of it? So you'll start to notice many of the large soda companies have now gone to all of the top of the bottles, say, please recycle. That was never an initiative before. They just made their cans, they made their bottles, they did what they needed to do and put it on the responsibility of the communities to say, now what do you do with this material? So now it's called in-producer responsibility, that we're trying to encourage people to take responsibility of when you create something new and what you do with it, reducing waste.
Can you explain it? Somebody would drop off a garbage bag full of recycled stuff. Can you use the garbage bag and drop it off without?
Yes, oh yes, of course. So a couple, that actually great point. So back to those pictures, don't mind me jumping backwards, I'm sorry. So if you encounter those mouths, I call them the mouth, the Amazon smile and the mouth. I'm sorry, Jeff Bezos, I made you more money because we're using a brand name. But if you carry your things in a tote, you carry them in a garbage bag, and if you want to put your bag up to the mouth and drop it off, just don't let go of the plastic bag. I don't have the picture on there, but at the Portage site right in between there is actually also plastic bag collection component. So if you have clean, dry plastic bags, you can bring them right there as well. So in regards to yard waste, we encourage a lot of people to bring in your yard waste with, if you bring it in a brown yard waste collection, to dump it out, and you can take your yard waste right back with you. So same way with leaves. You bring leaves, you collect leaves, you find a way to get them and motivate and move them. Just make sure what you bring with you, take out with you in regards to bags. So, any other questions? Yes?
With the compost, you have to worry about any spores if you're using it for, let's say,
So we have our compost tested annually, and so those results are up on the website. Unfortunately, the compost is the leaves and the grass are collected from residents all year, so you don't know exactly. We always tell people, maybe one household might have put a fertilizer on their yard and the next one might not have. So that does get included. It's very inclusive, unfortunately. I mean, it's good and bad, but so those numbers, the spores, we just have it annually tested to make sure that it does pass for our, basic pH. We test for metals. We test for a lot of different minerals that are involved. We usually have a great level of response. We see consistency throughout the years, so there's not a lot of fluctuation in that material. So, yeah, of course. So we highly encourage, I will say this, and I know this is being recorded, but I can probably kill any plant. I have an amazing plant growing in our office, and it's only on compost. So I highly, highly encourage, and my staff will tell you I can kill any plant. So they've tried to bring many of them back to life. So the compost is great stuff if you're needing it for your fruits, your vegetables, your garden, your flowers, your house plants. So I forgot mulch as well. If you save some money, we do a big grinding process, and there is a lot of material. You can take your grindings and you can put them on your ground. They're natural, so they're not colored, but it's just what is brought into us by the residents, and they're at the sites, and you can put them on your yard as well, and those are at no charge. If you need a lot of your compost, a lot of your mulch, you can contact the street department, and they'll make an appointment, and they'll actually assist in loading the material into a truck or vehicle for you. So lots of great partnerships, collaboration, and giving back to the, any more. And two things, if you have groups, I'm happy to come out and talk to anybody about recycling, about different services we offer. We're happy to do that. And certainly, last but not least, April 20th is our big Earth Day celebration. So we highly invite everybody out to the Porter County Expo. It's from 9 to 1. I actually do know there are 4 rain barrels being decorated by Portage Community Schools, and so everybody gets a ticket, and you can go out and vote for your favorite rain barrel, and there's just a lot of fun. There's some wildlife shows, magic shows, Recycle 101. We have somebody speaking about microplastics, and on a bizarre level, I think Mayor Bonta, you first started about talking about with government getting involved, and we actually have somebody speaking. There is a law in Indiana that bans municipalities on banning the use of single-use plastic bags and styrofoam. So there's going to be I know that is a double negative. There is a ban on a ban. That is correct. And we're going to have a resident who's going to speak about it. So, and how to try to get the law repealed in Indiana. So just sharing some information. But we highly, highly encourage, it's all on our website at Porter County Recycling. Like I said, the first hazardous waste kickoff is in May 4th. I can't believe that's in less than 1 month, but I have some papers up here in regards to your drop-off guidelines, your hazardous waste schedule. So, questions?
I'd like to just comment. I'm
Sure.
Bob Carnahan from the town of Cedar Lake.
Yes.
And I served on the Lake County Solid Waste for about 10, 15 years.
Wonderful.
I gave it up 2 years ago. But our household hazardous waste, they limited it to, they would only let you bring in 100 pounds this year. So that's new. And they've got a compost material that they'll give to the residents, but any businesses, they'll sell it to them. And in Lake County, we had 27 drop-off sites throughout Lake County, and there was so much contamination going into them, they had to eliminate all of them. I went down to ours in Cedar Lake. I found car bumpers and desks and all kinds of stuff like that. So I'm glad to see you still have this type of a program available to the residents here in Porter County.
Well, thank you. We're trying. We're really trying. So.
And you can take aerosol paint cans.
So if you have like a spray can, that is considered a hazardous waste. So you would take it to your hazardous waste collection point. Even the cooking, like the Pam spray, the olive oil, anything that is deodorant, hairspray, anything that has a component of an aerosol in it. So Even like it is almost grilling season, if you haven't started yet. The lighters, that if you needed to ignite a grill, sometimes those lighters go as well to hazardous waste. So there's a lot of odd fertilizers, all sorts of things. I didn't know what a wealth of information I was until you work in the recycling and waste reduction district. Like, oh, I didn't know that needed to go there. So please, if you have a question, I highly, highly encourage. I have a great staff. I'm blessed with an amazing staff who are passionate as I am and want to find out. So if we don't know it, we will find out. We will search. We will try to get you a contact of where it can potentially go. So.
Stay, there, just to say, I know that on our end, we kept the questions, Randy and I, to the end, and that was mostly because we wanted to get to this part, which was the most significant part, actually, the literal recycling 101. If you have other questions in general, I'm happy to answer, or questions for Carrie, we're happy to take them now. I just wanted to make sure that we didn't spend all our time talking about a history lesson when what really needed to happen was a really informative program on recycling. So thank you also for just being here. But are there other questions, anything I could answer, anything Randy could answer, or any more for Carrie? I'm sure there'll be more as they come. This is it feels like an arms race almost. Mm-hmm. We're constantly trying to teach what's recyclable, what's not. You're trying to put the lids a certain way so that things don't get, mixed in that, shouldn't be. And at the same time, they keep coming out with new products, then we got to keep track. And I myself was the guy who asked the beef jerky question. Everybody here knew that, but for people watching online, that's one for me where I'm like, oh, I've been doing that wrong. So again, it's not about judging anybody, but what it is about is making sure that we stay educated and stay at it. So before I became mayor, but after the election, Gabby Garcia, who, I don't know if you'd like to just introduce yourself or you want to come up, but approached me about creating a sustainability council in the city of Portage. Someone who's really championed that as well is Councilwoman Gina Geis-Hirsch. She's here, and I just want to acknowledge you guys and thank you for being here today. We've got a number of other department heads and city employees here, and I appreciate you guys all, being here as well. If you got any questions that you're, don't want in this very public format, please feel free to come and talk to us after. But on that note, unless anybody else had anything else to say, I think we are good to close up. Oh, yes, sir?
Mayor, I got a quick question. So with the blue recycling, is the city still paying the $105 per ton for that to them?
Do you mean to say like when it comes to the recycling drop-off site?
Yes.
Yeah, so that was actually really cool because we've got the two that, we've got the one managed by the county and then we've got our own. Am I correct with that, Randy? Because I'm saying, I just want to make sure I had the number right. Because it was really neat when Randy reported to me that we had tonnage accepted, stuff actually was going and getting recycled. I was like, woot. And then I asked, hey, does that mean we paid the 105? And he said, yep. And that's not a bad thing. I think that it's important to know the costs because certainly when a program's not working, it's really tough to have something not working and be paying a high cost. But it's important to remember that, and it's tough because don't get me wrong, I liked the situation as it was explained to me in 2013-14, where it's, hey, good news, we have single stream recycling, you put it right here at the side of the curb, it all gets recycled, you're helping the planet from the convenience of your home, and it's for free, and it's actually saving the city money. That was wonderful. If the president of China gives me a call tomorrow and said, hey, Banta, I watched the thing, we're taking all the recyclables again, that'd be great. I don't think he's watching this, I don't think that's gonna be the thing that happens. I say that because as the situation changed, we need to respond to it, but it doesn't take away the fact that, yes, it was great for a number of years that recycling was so affordable and convenient, but not the right thing to do is not always the most affordable or convenient thing to do. And the big thing we can't do as a municipality is keep giving people the impression that something worthwhile is also easy when it's not being accomplished. That was a lot of words. I hope that made sense. But yeah, to answer your question, we are, when it's the city of Portage contributing that load and it's coming from our site, we're actually paying that 105. And that's not a bad thing. It's a budget thing, we'll figure that part out. But I would rather have that problem than the problem that we had 2 months ago, if that makes sense.
Can I just add a point? I just brought the picture up. So on this picture on my left side, the one with the orange trailer, that is the Portage compost site, and the district will be paying for that recycling
Right.
on the Portage compost site. On the other picture, that is actually on your streets and sanitation, and that is what the city will be paying for, just so.
When this all came up, one of the things I said to the district is that my goal is that we do such a good job as a city that the district says, whoa, look at all this recycling that we've got. Not to create a problem, but to be able to state, if we have that many people committed, that's a good thing, and we'll figure out where to go from there.
And I can add, it is a good thing. Last year, we had 2 containers at the Portage Compost site. We are currently at 4. They've already been, we haven't even been open 1 month, and they've already been recycled, emptied once. And it sounds like, Randy, you guys have added some 20-yard containers as well. So it's a good thing.
The city, the residents have stepped up, and because that's when you inform people of a problem and you get the information out, people really do step up, and that's continuing to happen. It still happens every day that there's people who say, hey, what's going on with the recycling? And again, you answer the question with a smile, and you keep going. But it is to say, we want to keep this up, and if we're able to reboot a curbside program, that would be amazing. But it's important that we learn from what happened in the past, so that if we succeed in getting that off the ground, we do it in such a way that we don't end up with the contamination rejection problem that we had. We have an opportunity to hopefully do it right from the first time. Oh, yes.
I have a question about the Greenland. So, what if my family's deciding that we don't want to contribute so much waste that we have 2 garbage cans full every single week?
One of the best things you could do is you could call the street and sanitation department and state just that, and they will come and they'll get it for you. And that helps reduce, and it's kind of like giving up something, you know, because you're like, hey, you know, I'm on a diet, I want to take away the temptation to, like, you know, go for this sort of thing. Having that toter go back is a fantastic idea, and as long as you've got a green lid and a black lid, we will take the green lid back just to avoid confusion, you know, if you will. And I think that ultimately that's where we want to go. I want to have a whole city where people are choosing to give back at least one. Well, yeah, I don't think you want to give away both, sorry. But it is to say, and I mean, I myself am only using 1 lid, and I'm really proud of that. It's something where I think that that also comes back to confidence that what you're having is recycled. That's also why, and I know that there were some people who got confused. They said, wait, we've got 2 of these things, why isn't the fee going up? Well, the reason the fee wasn't going up is because actually, when you think about from 21 to now, what the department was paying for, it's really just a continuation of what we were doing since 21 when the program got suspended. That said, every time that you recycle, every time that you're reducing, because we talk about reduce, reuse, recycle, that reduce part is a huge spot as well to help us manage this right. Any other questions? That was a very good question, but yes, I encourage everybody to feel free to call the department and say, I want to give one of these totes back. It only helps. But I can't force it, not yet. Oh, that sounded scary.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. Well, you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you all.